Hello everyone. Today I want to show you how GitLab uses Gitpod and how everyone can contribute. My name is Michael. I'm a developer evangelist with GitLab since 14 months now. My goal is to make it easier to use GitLab, integrate GitLab, talk about cloud native, Kubernetes, monitoring ops, automation, everything else. I'm currently living in the Nuremberg area, and if you don't find me on social as DNS Michi, which is pronounced or spelled as DNS MICHI, you will find me around like building Lego models and other stuff. So totally tweet me, check it out, and learn what we're doing at GitLab. The thing is, what I want to talk about in the next few minutes, how we built development environments in the past, how it evolved into containers, cloud, and Gitpod, what are typically examples, how we incorporate Gitpod when developing things around GitLab with pages, with learning Vue.js, with diving into the GitLab Development Kit and further Gitpod integrations. The thing is, just to mention GitLab, the company has been incorporated in 2014, and all the amazing features in the DevOps lifecycle set aside. We have an amazing open source community around it with many contributors, and we want to make it really easy to contribute and not wait for a long time to get the development environment started. And this is where it was like in the beginning, everyone starts fresh. You have like there's best practices. You try copy paste from different sources. The languages differ, the applications differ, the operating systems differ. So like you started creating Docker environments for easy development, but it's not the same as on Windows, as on Linux. The dependencies break. There is different behavior involved, and everything else feels a little unsafe. And you probably need to do pair programming to teach trainees and new team members and do the onboarding stuff. And I provided an example from my past, which is like I started using or I started compiling things with CMake. And like Gunnar introduced me to Ninja, and I was like, what's that? Yeah, it's a better make. Okay, then I need to update the development documentation for contributing and making our lives easier and make future developers happy or even more happy. So it's about like onboarding should be easy, but we also want to provide runbooks. So we have the same environment for everyone. We have reproducible builds. We also have the same error messages or the same triggered errors when the provisioning fails. We want to really make it easy to contribute. And sometimes it's also the problem that CI/CD deployments involve certain steps, stages, jobs, and it's not fast enough. We're working on making fast enough, but oftentimes you really would just want to see something or test it out and like have a development environment somewhere, which is the same as like from your colleague or team member. The thing is, sometimes development environments are really hard to configure. Even if you run a local Ansible script, it takes you 30 minutes to 60 minutes. And sometimes it just breaks and it's not fun. And I also probably don't want to install a Kubernetes cluster myself to just start contributing. It should be doing something, but I don't want to learn Kubernetes just for that. So the thing is, containers. We're learning that and we kind of need to provide that. But the problem is, yeah, it's a Docker file. We need best practices. There is maybe a Docker Compose YAML to learn. We probably need to learn about the builder images, other best practices. Do we need Kubernetes to run it? Creating an help chart things might get over-engineered. Docker Compose is an extra file you need, or an extra binary you need to download and install. It doesn't come with Docker Desktop or the Docker CLI by default. And then again, what are the best practices? So getting started is not super convenient. The thing is, cloud development environments were a thing in the past years, and we've seen some of them. We still want to make it easier for onboarding. We want to have on-demand resources, which means I can start a pod, a container in the cloud when I need it, and I don't need to create a ticket and say, hey, I want to buy a new hardware for our new team member. And I also don't want to wait for any like licenses, and the local IDE license takes 8 weeks. up until then, you cannot start coding. We also want to do pair programming all remote in a specific sense that the future is all remote. And it shouldn't matter on the time zone. And it should also be possible that we stop now and continue next week. So we need to preserve the state. And in corporate development environments, we also need some sort of single sign-on, making it easy to go there, because I really don't care where the application is being run. I just want to develop it and see immediate success. So we found out, hey, there is Gitpod. Sounds super cool, and we really want to dig into it and try it out and figure out how we can use it for ourselves and like for our projects, making it easier to contribute and also to develop our own applications. The first steps with Gitpod are conveniently easy. You need to log in and create an account, which you can just do with your GitLab account, using it as an OAuth application. I've done it already, just to prepare it for this session. And the other thing is, when you're navigating into a project, for example, to learn Rust for the first time, or Python or Golang or whatever you want, the cool thing about Gitpod is it provides all the compilers and dependencies by default in the workspace already. So in this specific example, I've already created a new project to learn Rust and navigated into the GitLab repository. And instead of opening up the web IDE, I just launched the Gitpod environment. This is basically what comes up when I launched this interface. And for the demo stuff, which I already prepared because I only have a couple of minutes, we also want to print something. So I've created a hello.rs file because I wanted to compile it. And this is basically the content in this workspace. So this hasn't been committed anywhere yet. The cool thing is I can just use the Rust compiler in the terminal. So I have access to the source code on the CLI in this container. And I can compile just with tab the hello.rs file. And this created something called a binary, which I can execute now. And I can see that it prints this message directly to the output. I can stop this container now, this workspace, and continue next week learning the next steps around Rust or whatever comes to mind. And I don't need to learn the CLI over here. I can just continue here and run things automatically and also open ports for running a web application. We will see that later on. The cool thing is I can basically start simple with Gitpod, but extend it to my own projects and even more than that. One cool thing is you can also install the Visual Studio Code extensions into Gitpod and the IDE, which means you can directly push to GitLab. You can use the merge request integration. You can basically benefit from everything which you would normally install into Visual Studio Code on your local environment, directly integrated into Gitpod. There are also instructions on this slide, which will be shared later on, how to add your personal access token, to do the authorization dance, and everything else. But this works nicely out of the box with just a little configuration of adding the access token, and then you're good to go. You can also install it globally, so you don't need to do it for every project all the time. You just have a global access token for Gitpod, and that's about it. The other thing is when we start diving into the web apps or like using Gitpod, and one of the first things we encountered as developer evangelists, we probably want to integrate it with Hugo, which is a static site generator for GitLab pages, for example, and just make use out of that. Because sometimes you want to have a sort of a review app, and this is currently not directly possible. So like running the Hugo web server, which is basically Hugo server dash large D, or capitalized D. This should be possible in the same sense with the Gitpod environment, because I've said earlier you can just expose a web application port, HTTP, and then it should be running. There's a certain thing needed to use this with Gitpod, but Michael Eigner made this happen a while ago for our everyonecancontribute.com coffee chat round, which is actually being deployed just like this. This is basically a Hugo template with some bootstrap logic inside. And in order to develop that, we have a Gitpod integration around this. So basically what it does, and you can see that it did something already. It started out the port, and this is a Hugo server which has been run. So I started this earlier, and I can just open up the browser and see a preview of what I am currently developing over here. And for example, if I would need to, if I would want to change something on the layout, I could totally do that now. I won't do it now. I would encourage you to try it out by yourself with the Hugo template. And just reuse the content what's in there, or actually what's configured in there. This is really nice and convenient. The other thing around this is, a while ago I wanted to learn Vue.js to contribute myself even more to GitLab. And so I started creating a fresh Vue.js project and wanted to deploy it using the 5-minute production app automatically to AWS and speed up all the things. And then I thought about, well, I could also integrate Gitpod because it makes it even more easy to contribute. So I created my own workspace image, which is possible by providing this as an image configuration for the inside the .gitpod.yaml file. And the main thing is it just imports what's already there. So there's the full workspace environment available. And I also want to install the Vue CLI npm or node module. This is needed for going further. And the other things are basic things. You can run tasks in the workspace initialization, which means you run yarn install and then yarn serve. So this is basically opening up the web browser. It runs on port 8080, and if you open it up, if you define the action, open the port means open a new browser tab. You can also install extensions from Visual Studio Code automatically, and this is basically what is shown over here. And currently it's running over at this point. I have some open ports, which means I can open this up and can immediately see what I have provisioned and what I can change. So it's not super convenient now. I'm still learning Vue.js from time to time and keep using this project. Still want to animate this, but I'm still learning how to animate SVGs with Vue.js. That's one of the things you can do. The most interesting part is how can I actually develop GitLab with Gitpod? What is the most benefit? Like, GitLab is a huge project, and we have so many dependencies and components being involved, and this takes a while to install. So oftentimes it's like more than 1 hour. You need to install the Ruby dependencies, Golang, specific other things, Node.js for Vue, and so on. We need to run service daemons. And oftentimes you don't have a Vagrant environment or Kubernetes environment available for everyone. And we also want to run CI/CD and have the runners available picking up the jobs. So depending on where you want to contribute something, you probably need some sort of huge environment. And it's also sometimes the problem that the local resources are not good enough. I'm just saying good enough. It's not powerful enough, and it's everyone should be able to contribute, no matter if you're running on a low-end Chromebook, for example, or if you have a MacBook Air for easier traveling or something else. It shouldn't matter where you're on. You should be able to use it and contribute. The GitLab Development Kit combines everything around this, and it also has a documentation meanwhile, and we also have community blog posts and blog posts around this topic, how to actually run Gitpod with the GitLab Development Kit and GitLab itself. And this is described in this documentation over here, which instructs you how to work with that. As a GitLab team member, I can immediately start it out of the repository because I have the permissions to do so. As a wider community contributor, you can fork the repository and continue starting the Gitpod environment. This takes quite a while, so I took advantage of this presentation and started it already. So you can see that we have something over here, but it is still doing something. And I think I've run into a problem over here now, but it's good that we can actually do something. Maybe I've hit a bug while creating this. The thing is, I can jump right here, and I did all the steps. The thing is, all services have been shut down. It did something. Migrations have been run. This is always the best when you're doing a recording and then something is broken. The main exercise would be now, okay, we have a running, or we should be having a running GitLab environment now, but it didn't work for some reason. The thing which you can see actually is it did a lot of things. So it started, the backend did all the things, and the GDK is now over here and has been run. Maybe let's try it again. It did something, but probably, yeah, we have something available. It's open in the browser. Migrations are pending. Run pending migrations. We should probably do that live next week, or when the talk is being presented on Tuesday. We should try it out. The thing is, I don't know how to fix this yet, but probably it's more authentic when something breaks. The thing we can do and the thing we did for making this happen, doesn't matter on the error now, we have the development environment provisioned with the workspace image, and this can be built with using the normal CI/CD workflow for building Docker images, push it to the GitLab registry, and then use it as an image. This is one thing which has been prepared, and it also runs all the database migrations and dependency installs and all the things. The other cool thing it does is it installs the extensions which we need. So you can automatically install the GitLab workflow as an extension and different other things, which make it more convenient to use. And you have everything pre-installed in the environment. So set aside that something is not working right now. We have immediate access to all the things which GitLab provides. And if I want to, for example, contribute to renaming the default branch from master to main, we have the CI/CD template available somewhere over here in this directory, and we can check it out and continue contributing and then test it later on. There are some steps involved describing how to register the GitLab runner now. This needs to be done manually, but you know where we want to go. I recently created an MR to update the Docker in Docker image template. This also has been merged already, so this is in good preparation. But I think there are some There could be some templates still referring to a different branch. Over here, this has been done already, for example. But yeah, this could be some entry point to continue working next to backend work, front-end work, anything else around contributing to GitLab. If you want to dive deeper into what's coming with Gitpod, I recommend checking out the other talks. There is a feature preview around which gives you access to root access, which provides you with root access for pods and containers and changing the default IDE, which should be done with Visual Studio Code. To be honest, recommend to check it out. I didn't try it myself yet. If you want to do some more things with learning, for example, Golang, you can use Gitpod. This is something we did in the past. Or if you want to learn Python, it's also possible because the workspace has everything pre-installed. So you can really use it as your development environment for learning a new programming language and continue further with like web app development and more things. But really, like, get things going. We should totally fix the problem I've encountered now while doing the recording, and probably next week it will be solved already. I want to thank you for your attention. I hope you've learned something new around Gitpod and how to contribute to GitLab and how to make your life easier with your own projects. And with that, I wish you a pleasant day and thanks for your attention. Bye.